Like I wasn't baptized as a child or anything like that. But my aunt and uncle were in a very like rigorous Baptist church. And so in order to like keep me kind of like in line and behave, I guess, it was kind of weaponized at that point. And a lot of the abuse that came from my time with them was led by like, I guess, just like this wrathful God and like, this is why we're being terrible to you. It's because XYZ. So I immediately just thought God was like, I don't want to necessarily say out to get me, but he definitely like the only way I was going to do right is by like pushing me to do right in like terrible, awful ways. So it was just a really bad concept for me. And then at one point something happened within the church and I was very not great. And so that kind of just like smashed any concept I ever had that God was an okay person. So kind of from that path forward, I was like hell bent on being like, God sucks, I hate God, LOL. But I left my aunt and uncle's house to be with my dad after he moved, and that's how I ended up in Georgia. And so I moved to Georgia. It was just me and my dad. I didn't really know anybody. So I'm still just like trying to figure out who I am, but also dealing with like this trauma that I have and trying to fit in the new school system in a complete culture shock because Washington State and South Georgia are not the same. So there was a lot of agitation and just uncomfortability that I didn't know how to deal with, especially like through like my teen years and stuff. And it just kept cycling of like, because I'm not treating the hurt I've dealt with. And I had to find ways to cope with that. And so I started to self-harm pretty bad. And then with that, I had my first suicide attempt, which looking back definitely needed to happen because it got me into the psychiatric offices and it helped me kind of push towards what I needed to start doing to get my mind right. I was initially diagnosed with major depressive disorder. So I was being treated for that with like medications. But I have bipolar too. I don't think I ever mentioned that, but I was misdiagnosed. And so these medications were not working properly because it's not what I needed. But I'm still really heavily relying on like, I guess, relationships with people. And like, I was still self-harming and there were like other vices and whatnot because I wasn't introduced to alcohol until I was 21. It was like a week before my 21st birthday. And my best friend, now roommate, is a month older than me, and we got Sutter Home Pink Moscato, but we couldn't open the wine bottle, so we just shoved the cork in, and we were just drinking around corks. I moved out of my parents' house, and I think with that quote unquote freedom, there was a lot more ways for me to get my hands on alcohol, and I wasn't necessarily scrutinized as much as I would be at home. But speaking with my mother now, like she knew something was up even though I wasn't under her roof. So with this newfound freedom, like I was drinking more socially for a while, and then I moved again to just like a different house in Valdosta, but that social drinking just turned into everyday social drinking. And then eventually it was I'm living alone, drinking all the time, and all this stuff like that. And then sometime during the spree, I attempt for a second time. And with that hospital stay, I was diagnosed with bipolar 2. So I now am just struggling with this cocktail of medications because I'm also having cocktails with the medications. So like what I think should be working with this diagnosis, I'm not giving a chance to work because I'm drowning it slowly and slowly. And I'm just feeling more and more on edge and just not comfortable because I'm just not taking necessary precautions to take care of myself. And my so December 5th, 2023, I was drinking alone in my room, and a series of events just led to like what I would like to call like I think people call them like an upper bottom or like a high bottom. Like I hadn't lost my house, I hadn't lost my job, but someone in the room shared with me like we have those yets, and that says the yets are you're entitled to. So granted that didn't happen, but there's certainly a reason it could have. And so I was essentially just like saying my goodbyes and getting ready to attempt for a third time. And like third time's the charm. And I not spoken to my mother about everything, and she kind of like she set my mind straight because I didn't my grandmother is an alcoholic, and I guess it skipped a generation. So it took the daughter of an alcoholic to be like, you need to do something, you need to get help, or like, we're done here, essentially. So I got sober on the 6th. I went to my first meeting on December 9th. The meeting I picked up my white chip. My sponsor was picking up her 4-year chip. But I didn't ask her to be my sponsor until 90 days later, after 90 meetings in 90 days, because I was scared. So started working the steps, and I really had to smash all those old ideas and just completely start from scratch. And I think my favorite thing about the program, and the thing that healed a lot of what I didn't know was broken, was that it's a higher power of my understanding, and I don't have to align with any views except my own, as long as I feel safe and like I'm doing the next right thing. Like it's been very transformative for me to be able to sit here and be like, yes, I know God, and like we have a relationship, rather than I just want to like throw lightning bolts and fuck God, essentially. So as far as my involvement in GCYPAA, my very first GCYPAA event, because we had a very small GCYPAA like meeting when I first came into my fellowship, and it's gotten a lot bigger. Like it's massive now, it's kind of insane. But my very first trip was in March of 2024, which was the Florida camping trip. They do a biannual camping trip in Moss Park every year. So that was my first experience with just like-minded people, and like not feeling crazy when I said something crazy, because we all think the same thing. And it was just the best experience. And I have a Snapchat memory of my best friend that I met in the rooms, and she's like, it's 420 and we're not high. And it was just like a huge like thing for us, like, oh my God, we're not doing anything, but we are doing so many things. And then I got together with a friend of mine who was at the Georgia conference in 2023. And Georgia did not have a camp conference in 2024. Like it went completely dark. Like we were a dark state on the GCYPAA map for a long time, because I really don't know why. It was just not something that was being worked towards. So I got with him, and he said, how do you feel about hosting a convention in 2025? But he's the kind of person you can't really say no to. So we threw a bid packet together, and we talked with the Georgia advisory on the matter in, I want to say April. So it was like 1 month camping trip. Next month, we're going to have a convention, or we're going to have a conference. Talked to advisory, and then we started doing events to work towards the Georgia conference. In May, we had our very first event at Camp Tigert as a camping trip, which, spoiler alert, the Georgia convention was also at Camp Tigert as a camping event. My first conference was the Florida conference, and we kind of got to look at it. The Florida conference is absolutely huge, and I was entirely nervous. And my friend said, it's okay, ours will not be that big. In September, we were awarded the conference after a rodeo themed dance we did. We had our elections. I was elected co-chair for the conference. And then we put our asses into gear and got it ready. We outreached in Florida, Alabama, North Carolina, and GCYPAA, which was in Virginia this previous year. We had our conference at the end of April. I'm biased, but I think it went really well. I had a really good time. I think the most magical experience of it was seeing someone I had met in Al-Anon. I want to say a month before the conference, and was like, you should come to the conference. And seeing him open up and just turn into a completely different person, and now I talk to him every day. It's just really a transformative thing to see. I guess just see people get the fire that is sobriety, and to get the fire that is being involved in stuff like this. Because now I was able to roll onto advisory, and I'm able to help this upcoming conference in 2026 that will be in Buford. And it's just, I really don't think I could ever imagine this life for myself. And just being able to look back at where I was and how miserable and lonely I was, and that be the complete opposite today, and having that faith that it's only up from here, has been just, I really don't know how to describe it. Thanks for letting me share. Should I introduce the topic now? Okay, so I wanted to come out of page 43 of the big book, all the way at the bottom of More About Alcoholism. And it says, once more, the alcoholic at certain times has no effective mental defense against the first drink. Except in a few rare cases, neither he nor any other human being can provide such a defense. His defense must come from a higher power. So I find that to go for a lot more things than just my alcoholism in my life. I don't have a lot of mental defenses for anything. And I find that if I rely and ask for help from my higher power, it becomes a lot easier because I don't feel like I'm tackling it alone.